Hey Bougie click. Have you ever wondered how self-victimhood replaces accountability in relationships? In this video we'll explore how patterns of self-victimhood can sometimes mask repeated poor choices with victim narratives, ultimately hindering personal growth and relationship success. Together, we'll examine the concept of pity privilege, where tears replace tactics, and explore the psychological and social dynamics at play. If you're ready to question the status quo and embrace genuine empowerment, hit that subscribe button and let's get into it.
I'ma make you a fan.
Pity privilege in relationships, when self-victimhood replaces accountability. We need to have a real conversation about the most toxic trend destroying women's potential, pity privilege. You know exactly what I'm talking about, that manipulative little game where bad decisions get wrapped in victim narratives, where accountability becomes the enemy, and where tears replace tactics. Too often pity privilege in relationships looks like this: someone repeatedly makes the same bad choices, then framing the fallout as something done to them rather than something they did. This is not inherently a women's problem, it's a behavioral pattern that many people fall into when they don't want to face hard truths about their role in their own choices. Recent research from Frontiers in Psychology, 2024, reveals that women's attraction to bad boys isn't just a cultural trope, it's a documented psychological phenomenon where dominant, aggressive male traits trigger romantic parasocial relationships even in fictional contexts. This isn't about weak women falling for strong men. It's about smart women weaponizing their own victim narratives to avoid the terrifying responsibility of genuine partnership. While we're out here demanding seats at tables, too many women are still playing musical chairs with accountability. And honey, the music stopped a long time ago. Relationship roulette, when every ex is a narcissist. Every failed relationship becomes a trauma story where you're the innocent victim of yet another narcissist. Statistically speaking, true narcissistic personality disorder affects only 1 to 2% of the population. So either you have the world's worst luck, or maybe, just maybe, you need to examine your picker and your patterns. Research from the Journal of Family Violence shows that while economic abuse in relationships is real and devastating, there's a growing trend of weaponizing these legitimate concerns to avoid personal accountability. Not every financial disagreement is financial abuse. Not every boundary is controlling behavior. Sometimes you just made poor choices. The accountability check. Did you ignore red flags because the attraction was strong? Did you stay despite clear incompatibilities because you didn't want to be alone? Did you contribute to the dysfunction but only remember his part? Are you confusing consequences with victimization? The most successful women in relationships aren't the ones with perfect partners, they're the ones who take radical responsibility for their choices, learn from their mistakes, and level up their selection criteria instead of their sob stories. The savior complex economy, where broken men become full-time jobs. A 2025 study in Modern Psychological Studies identified what researchers call the savior complex phenomenon, where individuals with high empathy, optimism, and compassion actively seek partners who need fixing. But let's call this what it really is: emotional entrepreneurship. These women aren't victims, they're CEOs of dysfunction, building entire identities around managing someone else's chaos. The numbers don't lie. 73% of women in high-conflict relationships report basing their self-worth on relationship status when partners display benevolent sexism, Journal of Applied Social Psychology, 2025. Women experiencing continuous traumatic stress after leaving abusive partners show patterns of returning to similar dynamics in 68% of cases, Journal of Interpersonal Violence, 2023. Cognitive distortions in IPV, intimate partner violence, survivors include minimizing violence 84%, self-blame 79%, and false hope about partner change 91%. Psychosocial intervention, 2025. But here's the plot twist nobody wants to discuss: what if these cognitive distortions aren't distortions at all? What if they're strategic narratives that allow women to maintain their position as the perpetual victim while wielding enormous emotional power? The dark triad dance, when toxicity meets its match. Research on dark triad traits, narcissism, psychopathy, Machiavellianism, shows something fascinating: there's significant assortative mating happening. A 2024 meta-analysis in personality and individual differences found that individuals with dark triad traits consistently pair with similar partners. Translation? Toxic attracts toxic, and everybody's playing the same game with different cards. The bad boy phenomenon isn't about innocent women stumbling into spider webs. It's about two predators recognizing each other across a crowded room and deciding to tango. One plays the broken bird, the other plays the wounded wolf. Both get exactly what they're looking for: a stage for their dysfunction and an audience for their pain. The accountability allergy: why taking responsibility feels like death. Here's where we hit the nerve that makes everyone squirm. A groundbreaking 2025 study on cognitive distortions in IPV relationships found that women trapped in violent dynamics share common thought patterns. Externalizing all relationship problems to the partner, 76%. Maintaining idealized memories of early relationship stages, 82%. Creating elaborate justification narratives for staying, 94%. But the research also revealed something the academics won't say out loud: these patterns persist even after leaving the relationship, suggesting they're not caused by the abuse, they're pre-existing frameworks that make certain women perfect targets for predatory partners. The pity privilege operates like this: by maintaining a permanent victim status, these women never have to examine their own patterns, choices, or the uncomfortable truth that they're addicted to chaos. Every failed relationship becomes another badge of honor, another story of survival, another reason they can't be held accountable for their choices. The trauma bonding industrial complex. The psychological establishment has given women the perfect out: trauma bonding. This legitimate psychological phenomenon, where abuse victims form intense attachments to their abusers through intermittent reinforcement, has become the catch-all excuse for every bad relationship decision. Recent neuroscience research, Brain Sciences, 2024, shows that women in abusive relationships do experience genuine neurological changes, including alterations in the prefrontal cortex affecting decision-making. But here's what the studies don't measure: how many women enter relationships already primed for these dynamics? How many are subconsciously seeking the familiar chaos of their childhood trauma? The uncomfortable truth is that trauma bonding has become a billion-dollar industry. Coaches, therapists, and content creators have built empires on keeping women in perpetual victim mode, always healing, never healed. Because healed women make terrible customers. The Accountability Dodgeball Championship: 6 Ways Women Orchestrate Their Own Downfall. Pity privilege is the new social currency. It's the ability to make a disastrous romantic decision, face predictable consequences, and then demand sympathy instead of accountability. It's emotional bailouts for self-inflicted wounds. And it's everywhere. Research shows that defensiveness and avoidance of accountability are major predictors of relationship breakdowns. Yet culturally, we've built an entire ecosystem where women can make the same harmful choices repeatedly and still be framed as victims of forces beyond their control. Below is a breakdown of the most common pity privilege narratives, and the uncomfortable truth behind them. Dating known cheaters: the "but he's different with me" delusion. She knows he cheated on his last 3 girlfriends. His Instagram DMs look like an all-you-can-eat buffet. His phone stays face down like it's protecting state secrets. But somehow, she's convinced her magical presence will transform the serial cheater into Prince Faithful. 6 months later, when she's crying about his shocking betrayal, she's collected enough sympathy to fuel a small country. The truth? She wanted the drama more than the relationship. Dating a known cheater is like playing Russian roulette with all chambers loaded. You're not unlucky when you get shot, you're an accomplice in your own execution. Ignoring red flags: the selective blindness syndrome. He told her on date 2 he doesn't believe in monogamy. He mentioned his crazy ex who ruined his credit and falsely accused him. Spoiler, she didn't. He lives with his mother at 35 and calls women females unironically. But she saw red flags and decided they were festive decorations. Each ignored warning becomes another verse in her victim ballad later. How could I have known, she'll wail, conveniently forgetting the 47 moments he showed her exactly who he was. This isn't naivety, it's strategic ignorance designed to absolve her of decision-making responsibility. Serial toxic relationships, the chaos addiction cycle. Meet the woman who hasn't had a healthy relationship since Obama's first term. Every man is a project, a disaster, a beautiful tragedy waiting to unfold. She's the common denominator in a decade-long equation of dysfunction, but somehow it's always bad luck or attracting narcissists. The truth is uglier. She's addicted to the adrenaline of toxic love. Peace feels like death. Stability triggers her fight or flight. She doesn't want a partner, she wants a perpetual emergency that keeps her feeling alive while giving her endless content for her victim narrative. Having kids with unreliable partners, the baby blame game. Perhaps nothing exemplifies choice-based victimhood like weaponizing reproductive decisions. Let's be crystal clear, having multiple children with multiple unreliable partners isn't oppression, it's a series of decisions with predictable outcomes. She knew he couldn't keep a job. She knew about his 3 kids with 2 other women he barely sees. She knew his idea of commitment was staying the whole night. She watched him ghost his responsibilities like they were spam calls. But somehow, this was the genetic material she deemed worthy of replication. Now she's a single mother with a struggle story, collecting sympathy like Pokemon cards while her child pays the price for her refusal to use birth control with bottom feeders. Now watch the pity privilege magic show begin. Poor family planning becomes society hates single mothers. Choosing unemployed partners transforms into the system failed me. Refusing birth control morphs into reproductive injustice. Child support issues become evidence of a deadbeat dad epidemic, conveniently forgetting she chose known deadbeats. 3 times. With receipts. Psychology research on behavioral blame reveals the uncomfortable truth: people who make poor partner choices consistently reframe personal responsibility as societal failure. The baby becomes her permanent victim card, her unassailable excuse for every subsequent poor choice. Can't leave? Baby. Can't level up? Baby. Can't date better men? Baby. The child she chose to create with a man she knew was unreliable becomes her forever reason why accountability doesn't apply to her. The real tragedy? While she's collecting sympathy for her struggle, she's teaching her children that chaos is normal, that fathers are optional, that victimhood is currency. She's not just choosing dysfunction for herself, she's making it generational. But pointing this out makes you the villain, because how dare anyone suggest that reproductive choices are, in fact, choices? Dating married men, the professional victim's masterclass. Nothing says I deserve pity quite like willingly becoming a side piece then acting shocked when he doesn't leave his wife. She knew about the wedding ring, the family vacations, the complicated situation. She accepted 2 a.m. texts and gas station flowers. But somehow, she's the victim when he chooses his actual commitment over their Tuesday afternoon delusion. Dating married men isn't falling in love, it's enrolling in a masterclass on manufactured heartbreak where you know the ending before the movie starts. Serially dating abusers, the familiar dysfunction dance. This is the woman whose relationship resume reads like a domestic violence awareness poster. Every man hits, cheats, lies, or manipulates. By the 3rd identical relationship, we need to ask uncomfortable questions. Not victim-blaming questions, but pattern-recognizing questions. What are you seeking in these men? What early warning signs are you deliberately ignoring? What about stability terrifies you more than abuse? Because serially dating abusers isn't bad luck, it's unconscious seeking of familiar trauma dressed up as love. The pity privilege payoff. Here's what all these patterns have in common: they generate maximum sympathy with minimum accountability. Each bad choice becomes another chapter in the Why Me memoir, another reason she can't be expected to make better decisions. The pity becomes currency: social media engagement, friend attention, therapy sessions, excuse armor for why her life isn't together. But here's the kicker: these women aren't stupid. They're strategic. They've learned that being a victim pays better dividends than being victorious. Every toxic relationship is a withdrawal from the bank of female sympathy, where your account never runs dry as long as you keep making terrible choices. The real tragedy? While they're collecting pity points, they're missing the actual prize: a life where they're the author, not the casualty. Where their relationships are chosen, not endured. Where their stories inspire instead of exhaust. Because at the end of the day, you can't simultaneously be the victim of your story and the hero. Pick a role and own it. But if you're going to keep choosing chaos, at least stop acting surprised when it shows up exactly as ordered. The personal choice persecution complex: more ways accountability dies. The social media martyrdom: digital dysfunction gets a victimhood rebrand. Oversharing trauma equals healing out loud. Starting drama equals speaking my truth. Stalking exes equals processing grief. The hidden cost of pity privilege. Here's what playing victim really costs you. Power: every time you claim helplessness, you hand over your power to external forces. Growth: victims don't evolve because growth requires acknowledging your role in your outcomes. Respect: people may pity you, but they won't promote you, partner with you, or see you as a leader. Wealth: financial success requires ownership mentality, not victim mentality. Love: healthy partners want equals, not projects. The generational grift. The most devastating impact? They're teaching their children that accountability is optional. Research shows parents with external locus of control raise children who blame teachers for bad grades, blame coaches for not making teams, blame friends for social problems, blame society for personal failures. The victim mentality becomes hereditary, creating generational cycles of strategic helplessness. Your weight, appearance, and family planning are your choices. The system didn't force you to have 5 kids with 5 men. Society didn't make you refuse basic grooming. The patriarchy didn't prevent you from putting down the Doritos. The real oppression? Watching capable adults weaponize their poor choices for social capital while those with actual challenges overcome them daily. The revolution isn't normalizing dysfunction, it's taking radical ownership of your controllable circumstances. Breaking the spell: the price of real power. So, what's the solution? It starts with a radical act: taking full responsibility for every single relationship choice you've ever made. Not because the abuse was your fault, it wasn't. Not because you deserved mistreatment, you didn't. But because as long as you're casting yourself as the powerless victim in your own story, you'll keep auditioning terrible men for the role of villain. Real power looks like acknowledging you chose him knowing exactly who he was. Admitting you stayed because dysfunction felt like home. Recognizing your own dark triad traits, we all have them. Understanding that your empathy might be emotional manipulation in a prettier dress. Accepting that healing means giving up the pity privilege permanently. The new feminine framework: accountability as liberation. The next evolution of feminine power isn't about being saved or saving others. It's about radical self-ownership. It's about looking at your relationship history and asking the brutal questions. Why do I cast myself as the victim in every story? What am I getting for relationships with broken men? How does my helping actually enable and infantilize my partners? What would happen if I chose a genuinely healthy partner? Am I addicted to being needed more than being loved? The research is clear. Women who break these patterns share one common trait: they stopped waiting for men to change and started examining why they were attracted to men who needed changing in the first place. The accountability advantage. Research consistently shows that people with high internal locus of control, those who believe they control their outcomes, earn more, have better relationships, and report higher life satisfaction. They're not luckier, they're more accountable. When you stop performing victimhood and start practicing ownership, your income increases because you invest in skills instead of excuses. Your relationships improve because you choose better and show up better. Your career advances because you become solution-oriented instead of problem-focused. Your mental health improves because empowerment feels better than helplessness. The ultimate glow-up, from savior to sovereign. Here's your prescription for breaking the pity privilege cycle. Audit your victim stories, write down every relationship sob story you tell. Now rewrite it with you as an active participant making choices, not a passive victim having things happen to you. Track your savior moments. Notice when you feel most alive in relationships. Is it during peace or chaos? Stability or crisis? Your addiction will reveal itself. Examine your casting choices. You're the director of your life. Why do you keep casting the same broken character in the leading man role? Practice emotional sobriety. Can you go 30 days without creating or engaging in relationship drama? Without giving advice? Without fixing anyone? Choose boring. Your next relationship challenge: date someone stable. Watch how quickly you try to create problems or find reasons to leave. The truth is that pity privilege is the most seductive form of power because it requires zero accountability while providing maximum attention. But it's also a prison that keeps you small, scared, and perpetually seeking your next fix of dysfunction. The real glow-up isn't finding a better class of broken men to fix. It's becoming so sovereign in your own power that you stop needing anyone's brokenness to feel valuable. It's choosing partners, not projects. It's building relationships, not rehabilitation centers. Because at the end of the day, the only person you can save is yourself. And the only person keeping you in toxic patterns is the one staring back at you in the mirror, holding on to her victim story like it's a Hermes bag. Drop the story. Pick up your crown. The throne of genuine feminine power is waiting, but you can't sit on it while you're still kneeling at the altar of your own victimhood. Conclusion: pity privilege is a pattern. Patterns of avoiding accountability in relationships are real, and they can lead to repeated hurt. If someone wants better outcomes, in partners, life choices, emotional regulation, or long-term stability, the path isn't blaming external actors. It's seeing the pattern, naming the choices, taking real steps toward change. That's where accountability lives. Pity privilege allows women to make the same choices, date the same men, ignore the same patterns, repeat the same cycles, and still claim victimhood. It's emotional inflation, devaluing real victimhood by overissuing sympathy to situations that were predictable and preventable. Accountability isn't punishment. It's empowerment. And until accountability becomes as socially rewarded as victimhood, pity privilege will keep women stuck in the same relationships, with the same outcomes, telling the same stories. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the concept of pity privilege in relationships. I hope this exploration has sparked some reflection and insight into how we view accountability and victimhood. Remember, the path to genuine empowerment starts with owning our choices and learning from them. If you found value in this discussion, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content that challenges and inspires. Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. I'm eager to hear your thoughts and experiences. Until next time, take care and choose wisely. What do you think? Does self-victimhood replace accountability in relationships? Let me know in the comments section. Stay bougie. Follow and support me. All links in bio. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check description for more info. New episodes every day.